Good morning, everyone. My name is James Hungs. I'm the founder of telehealthtoday.net. And today is Monday, October 21st. It is 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And as always, we are having a Monday morning meeting. Before I tell you who the speaker is, I'd like to remind everyone we are launching in November 1st. Please join us. Next week, it will be me hosting the meeting, and I'm going to put out a bunch of YouTube shorts telling you all the ways that this company opening can benefit you, what you can get from it. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel because I'm going to put a lot more content out next week. Please join us for our launch in November. But until then, today we have a special speaker as always. Her name is Alex Wittmaier, and she is a social media and content writer who specifically uses a little bit of Instagram, but mostly on LinkedIn. And she's going to help you build a LinkedIn profile, tell you why LinkedIn is what she uses, and more. So without further ado, Alex, it is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me. I'm very happy to talk about one of my favorite topics. I think many don't like social media too much, and of course there are downsides to it, but I see it through a lens of opportunity and connection. And that's where actually how it all started, that I really enjoy. My core values come back to contribution and connection, and I think this is something that you can achieve through LinkedIn. There are so many stories, great stories to tell, and I think social media in these days is the perfect platform to do so. So my journey has started many years ago. I would say I've been always interested in social media marketing. Already as a teen, I was the one making the most pictures and building homepages to share those back in the days when there was no Instagram or Snapchat whatsoever. And then naturally, I somehow, drove into social media marketing because I started as a working student in a software company and I was hired to do content marketing. And it was a small company. Now it's like a mid-sized company, but they didn't really have social media marketing. They started off with LinkedIn and I somehow took over because it was just fun to me. So I started to establish a international presence for them. It's a Germany-based company, and they are really found the passion for social media marketing, but especially for LinkedIn, because I really like the professional approach to social media marketing. And as I said, I think social media brings the chance to really use it for good things, and I see this specifically on LinkedIn because for businesses it gives a great opportunity to tell their story in a professional way. Of course, you have to use some personality here and there as well, but I think it really helps, create reach, but on a professional level. So that's why I think I really like working together with companies that are B2B focused. I just enjoy it more because I think there's more variety to it, in my opinion, because you can really focus on, for example, thought leadership topics. So a bit more theme-based instead of, I don't want to say just showing great pictures, what many people say about Instagram, for example, but I think on LinkedIn, it's just a different approach in comparison to platforms such as Instagram or Snapchat. And as you said in the introduction, I also help with Instagram marketing, but that's more on the ads part and strategy, um, some strategy topics as well. But what I do for LinkedIn marketing is mainly helping companies find their strategy and find their tone of voice on how to approach their ideal customers. So it varies depending on the level, but I often work together with companies who have to sell, let's say, an unsexy product. So it's a bit more challenging for them to actually establish their profile and their branding on social media. And if you have an, so to say, not so common product, let's say a software company, you can't show like many things when you have a software, but you can tell stories and you can tell facts. And putting this together in a nice way to market on LinkedIn is something I started to enjoy a lot. That's why I really not prefer, but mainly I work together with B2B companies, focusing on mainly software, or also personal branding for CEOs. I also do this a lot. So I do a lot of ghostwriting for CEOs of quote unquote unsexy businesses or the company pages. So I either help on the personal side, on the personal profiles, and help them establish their brand by looking at their strategy, their content strategy, but also optimizing their profiles, because this is where it should start. The profile of LinkedIn represents what you're going to talk about. So this is the first anchor you have to look at. And based on that, I establish the content pillars and then the content itself, and either help them on how to do it. So more about, I consult them and strategize with them, or I actually do it for them. So I do a lot of ghostwriting for CEOs. We talk about the topics and then I put it into the post. And yeah, that's how they can then establish themselves as a personal brand representing their company. Or on the other side, or I do it hand in hand, depending on the company and the size of the team. I also help with the company profiles, because the company profile these days is also just as the personal profile is like a little business card, so to say. And LinkedIn is becoming more and more important when it also comes to Google search results. So LinkedIn is ranking very far up, and I've been talking to CEOs who told me that actually potential investors looked at their company profile on LinkedIn and then started to talk about it with the CEO. And I think this is a very good chance also for companies to establish themselves, to show a little bit who they are, to make a good first impression for potential investors, but also, of course, for example, employer branding or potential partnerships. And so I help with that, and then also create content for the company profiles. This is definitely a different approach in comparison to the personal profiles. The content is a different one, but I enjoy that as well. And if the company is already a little bit bigger and more established and have the budget to do so, I help with LinkedIn campaigns as well. So with the ads part, we establish a strategy and then I execute their campaigns. That can be a brand awareness campaign, it can be a thought leadership campaign, it can be a lead generation campaign, of course. And yeah, depending on where the company is at, I help with those different steps. And of course, in the end, there's the analytics and reporting part. And based on that, we can then look into possibilities where we can improve and extend what we have been doing. So this is the main thing I do on LinkedIn. And as I said, I help also a little bit with Instagram or Meta advertisements, but I really enjoy the part on LinkedIn and helping businesses and CEOs being seen and spread their message.
Very good. That was awesome. No, I had like 4 questions, and I think you answered like at least 3 of them in your presentation. So that was very good. Okay, so here's what I'm going to start with. You touched on doing a personal profile for a CEO, but you also touched on doing a LinkedIn business page for that company. Which one is more crucial in your opinion, and why?
So I think in these days, of course, people connect with people. So personal profiles, on the one hand, if you look into the interaction, it's definitely the personal profiles of, for example, CEOs or other employees that work better when it comes to engagement. This is one part, but also LinkedIn prioritizes it as well. So the algorithm really prefers the personal content, meaning you can post the very same thing on a personal profile and on the company page. And even if the company page has twice or 10 times as many followers, it will be seen less, just because that's how the algorithm works. So personal profiles work better. It's the human to human connection on the one hand, but also the algorithm favors it. But
That's
still,
good.
even for example, if you have a company and you are the CEO and you post, which is amazing, you should never forget also having something on your company page. As I said, it's important for the Google search results. It's important for potential employees. People look at it. It's the first impression. Of course, the personal profile, but also the company profile, as people get a feeling on what are the business values and how does this company operate. And it can really help a lot in already forming this first good impression on the company page as well. And not to forget, if you want to do the advertisements on LinkedIn, you need a company page. Without a company page, you can't put any ads out there.
Okay, so it sounds like you recommend starting with the personal, but definitely having the company page as a support for the personal.
Exactly. So if you had to choose, do I post on my personal profile or on a company page? I can definitely recommend start on your profile and really build up this brand, especially if you're a CEO. It's obvious that you stand for this company, and it should be visible in your content to some extent as well. But at the same time, have the company profile ready, like with the most recent information, so it's up to date. All the links work. It's another possibility to drive traffic to your website, and maybe post at least, I don't know, once per week. If it that would be amazing already. I think I read statistics on personal profiles that only 4% of people on LinkedIn post once per month, and this as a personal profile. So you can imagine there's still a lot of opportunity to share your content, even though you think, oh, everyone does it already. It's definitely helpful, especially for people once they stumble on your company page, that they see something and it's not something from 1 year ago or 6 months ago. I think it's important.
That's good. That's awesome. Thank you. Um, Now you talked about, all right, no, talk to me a little bit about who needs to get on LinkedIn. Because you specialize in LinkedIn for a reason, right? And you touched on that a little bit, but who's the target that you would say really needs to get on LinkedIn if they're not already, and why?
In the end, everyone can go on LinkedIn. Who has a message to bring to the world can go on LinkedIn. Of course, brands in the B2C sector, I would say they use LinkedIn more for employer branding, finding new employees. It's a great platform to find talents, for sure. But for example, companies such as in the software area or whatsoever, for whom it's a bit more difficult to create a lot of content, for example, for Instagram, you really need to create a lot of content with more effort, for example, for Reels. Of course, video is now getting bigger on LinkedIn as well, but I would say creating content is a bit easier in terms of finding resources on LinkedIn, because you just have to do less content in comparison to Instagram. So companies who maybe struggle with having resources or struggle with using LinkedIn or TikTok or whatsoever to market themselves because their product is just not so um, applicable to what people want to see on Instagram. They're not so intrigued if you don't have much resource, so you can't do like crazy videos, very creative videos with a lot of effects or whatsoever. And I think for those companies, LinkedIn is really a chance because the focus is on a different part. It's not on this crazy creative videos like on Instagram, for example. It's more about the knowledge. And if companies can make use of that, I think LinkedIn is the perfect chance for that. So if you don't have so much resources and you have a product that is where you need to explain a lot, for example, a software, you just need to explain a lot. Of course, there are softwares out there we all know, but there's a lot of things people just don't have a clue about. And LinkedIn gives you this opportunity to actually explain it. because there are people who wants to listen to it.
That's good. That's good. All right, touching on something else, because I know it's so popular, especially in the last year. Do you use AI to make your content, and why yes or why no?
Definitely, I do.
Okay.
I think who doesn't just I don't want to say waste time, but it just helps use your time more efficiently. And we are all busy, and of course, there's more and more work, and AI just helps you get it done. For example, for me, I do a lot of ghostwriting and copywriting, meaning with the help of AI, I'm able to help more people with the ghostwriting. If a few years back, when I had to create a post, I had to do all the research by myself. I had to come up with ideas by myself. And this all takes time, meaning that I had more time per, like, I could spend on one client, for example. Now, thanks to AI, I can brainstorm ideas. I can check the news for specific topics. I can train the AI to give me what I need for specific clients based on what they need. And it just really shortens the time in the preparation for a post and also afterwards. So I can help use the AI to get it checked. So again, we are humans, we make mistakes. Also, ChatGPT and stuff make mistakes. Of course, we always have to be conscious about that and fact check everything and whatever. But still, it really helps to use time even more efficiently and also with creativity because we just have a specific amount of capacity of coming up with new ideas, and some days are just very busy and your mind doesn't work as creatively every day. And I think AI just really helps with those moments to overcome them because you can talk to AI and it helps you come up with new ideas, and then you can work with it as I see it like an assistant helping creating content. You can't fully rely on it, especially in ghostwriting and content copywriting, but it definitely helps. And I think it's in these days, it's just inevitable. It will be more and more part of our lives. So I think we just have to find a way to make use of it and in a good way.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you
That's
use
awesome.
it?
What's that?
Do you use AI?
Occasionally, I always want to be very sincere. I do use it, but I don't like when it writes something that's not true. So a lot of time I'm going back and like switching that and like because they'll come up with these stories of things that supposedly I did. I'm like, no, I didn't do that. Um, so I
Yeah.
keep it really sincere. Yeah. I mean, I can see. I mean, really, people don't think about this, but actually, like even a Google search is like a type of AI, right? Because it's coming up with articles and information from an algorithm to give to you. So yeah, you're right. It's not going anywhere and it's only
No.
getting more and more. So we might as well might as well be a part of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but it's funny, the evolution. I remember when ChatGPT came out, like the first time it became like public, it was I think in 2022. It was quite at the beginning of my self-employed journey, and then it was still like very secretly being used, and nobody had to like they didn't really talk about it in my bubble. Everyone I think started to use it, but now it's like just such a normal thing and everyone can use it. And if you use it to your advantage, I think you and also your customers or your clients profit from it.
yeah. Yeah, it's just another resource. And
Yeah.
you gotta take advantage. Yeah, I like it. That's good. Um Now you had talked about using LinkedIn for search engine optimization purposes.
Mhm.
Can you touch on that a little bit and things that you might do that would help a company get exposure or search engine optimization?
Yeah. So one part is happening on LinkedIn itself. So meaning if you use the right keywords in the right sections and really use the ones that fit your brand and your product, you will just be seen more or can be found more on LinkedIn itself. For on the one hand, through the search, because people search for things, and if you use the right keywords, you will be visible more likely. And on the other hand, the algorithm also picks up on that. So for example, if you talk about a specific topic again and again and have it all in your profile, the algorithm will recognize it and also push your content to the specific people as well. So it helps the algorithm on LinkedIn as well. But if you just look on Google and put your name in, still Facebook is, I think, still very far up, but also LinkedIn. Probably depending on how much information you have these days on the different social media platforms, the higher it will rank. But also, for example, this one CEO I was just mentioning, he really told me that he had this talk with a potential investor, and then they they just searched for it, or for the company, or for his name on Google, because I think that's what you do if you don't know a person, especially when it's business related. You just look them up, just as like when you look for a potential new employer, you look it up. Back in the days, I remember it was more on Facebook, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. I remember when I was applying for jobs, I would always look on the Facebook profile just to see how the vibe is and who's working there, and yeah, just get a feeling for the company. And these days it's LinkedIn. So if you type in the company name or maybe the name of the founder in Google, just to look on what or who it is, LinkedIn is just ranking far up if you are active. Even if you are not so active, it will pop up. So the more you feed your profile, the better it is once it pops up or on Google as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, my next question. Somebody out there needs you and needs your services, but might not know it. Who who is that person? Who is that person that is struggling and doesn't know that they need you, but if you were to get involved, you could like get them out of the rut that they're in?
Yeah, I think there are two like different types of people. One, on the one hand, many people think still social media might not have the power it actually has, especially in the small and mid-sized companies. The C-levels, they are still very hesitant when it comes to social media marketing. That's what I've been hearing over and over again when I talk also to other social media managers in their companies. And I had to do it as well in the mid-sized company. You have to fight for it still, because many companies are just, at least in Germany, maybe in other countries it's a bit less, but still in smaller companies where they don't have so much resources and they have very long sales cycles, you can't put something out there on LinkedIn and then people will buy. Especially, for example, a sales cycle of half a year for a software, when you put out one post, people won't buy it. And this is often still a problem from C-level, that they don't see the long-term benefit of it, because they look on the short-term wins, let's say leads or whatsoever. So I think on the one hand, it's people that still need to be talked to about the long-term benefits of social media marketing. And especially these days, it's not going anywhere. It will just be more and more and more. And we have seen how much LinkedIn has grown over the past year since the pandemic. People just have to deal with the fact that it's here to stay. And companies, also conservative companies, just have to switch a little bit their opinion about it and actually see the chances of it. And also, one problem often is that even though maybe some people in the company are already convinced that it's helpful, there are always people who think it's just posting pretty pictures, let's say. For example, it's always the same discussion between sales and marketing. Sales is always like, marketing is doing nothing, and sales, they are the ones who generate the leads. But especially when you look into B2B products, you need people to touch on your brand sometimes 7 to 10 times in B2B. In B2C, it's a bit less, but in B2B, this number is very high, and social media just provides another chance to create those touch points, even if you don't want to spend too much money, meaning that you don't create ads or whatsoever. Using your own employees and yourself as a CEO to reach the audience just creates touch points. So I think on the one hand, it's people who are still very skeptical when it comes to social media marketing. They still need some, yeah, they still need to be convinced, so to say. But how can you be convinced? When you try, because every company is different, and once you show them, and I have seen it in the past as well, where I've worked, people from being very skeptical and through the journey, now they are like, oh, we love LinkedIn and we need to post this. Now they approach me on posting even more stuff because they see the value of it. So I think it's on the one hand them, and on the other hand, I also see, for example, a lot of social media managers struggle because companies, as I said, the conservative ones who don't want to spend too much resources on social media marketing, people have social media marketing is often, or LinkedIn, as an add-on to another person's job. So they don't have so much time to do so. And this is often the reason why they struggle with it. So I think people who just been thrown into, you do LinkedIn marketing now, and they don't really have a clue on what to focus on, how to deal with it. I think those people also, I like to guide those people because I can just take them on by the hand, so to say, and show them, okay, this is what LinkedIn is about. You have to do those steps in the beginning, focus on ABC, and then you can focus on the other things. And yeah, guiding them through this process helps a lot as well. And then there are also, of course, people who approach me and want content. And there are two types mostly. People who are very engaged and they come up with ideas and they give feedback very quickly. So it's a very smooth process when it comes to ghostwriting or copywriting for the company pages. And this is brilliant. But then there are also the other people, persons who actually they see, okay, I have to do it, but they still don't really feel that it's beneficial. So they also need a little bit of time. And I think in this process, it's very important. That's at least what I focus on, to have a really good connection with my clients. So with all my clients, it's a very easy going collaboration from both sides. And I think this really helps in establishing this process so that they can ease into this more professional process in creating content and actually engaging on LinkedIn. So I think this personal level is also very important.
Awesome. Thank you. And just to furthermore on that a little bit, can you give me an example of, you even mentioned some of them didn't believe in it at first, but now they do, and now they just want more and more content. What drove that? Was it like in the examples of that? Are you driving more sales, or are you getting more contacts, or what's making that person flip the switch and say, "Oh, we need more content now"?
Mhm. So one thing, C-level that are not so in depth into social media marketing, I would say, they always look at first on the followers. So when they see there are more and more followers, and then there's 1,000, and there's 2,000, at some point there are 10,000, they're like, oh, okay, actually there are some people interested in seeing what we say, and also then seeing engagement, and then. So I would say it's very data driven. If they see on the analytics of the website that a certain amount of traffic is coming from social media marketing, and specifically LinkedIn, then because that's the main platform they use, this is already helpful in convincing them. Seeing that people are coming actually from LinkedIn, it's not all through Google search or whatsoever, it's actually also LinkedIn. This is one hand. Yeah, the followers, people engaging. But also people actually, as I said, with this one CEO, for example, where he mentioned the investor, other companies also told me that, for example, their clients talk to those companies about the LinkedIn profile, saying, oh, it's you posted this and this looked nice, and I like how you approach those topics and how you explained this. So validation, external validation from third parties, so to say, helps as well. Of course, you cannot really influence what other people say, but if you create good things, people eventually will say something about it. So this is one thing as well. And yeah, I would say the recognition, external recognition, and the numbers when you actually create numbers. Of course, for software whatsoever, sales is not the main thing because it's just not possible most of the times, at least with the clients I work with. But for example, if I have a client and we work on campaigns on LinkedIn, so on ads, and we generate leads for specific, for example, let's say for a webinar or for a white paper. And then we look into the leads we generated and we see those are names from very big companies, then they are happy. But then it's of course important that the follow-up is working. And this is sometimes a bit tricky. So sometimes there are companies that are just not so far into this their CRM is just not so well established, meaning we generate leads, but then they don't really follow up. This is of course can be a bit frustrating, but best case scenario, we generate good leads on LinkedIn, and either they follow up if it's a smaller company directly on LinkedIn because they just visit the profiles and connect with those people who actually attended a webinar, for example, or the automation is a bit further established and through LinkedIn you generate the leads and then you can do the nurturing and send follow-up newsletters and whatsoever, and then this process is getting started. And I see it in the companies I've been working with. Some companies, they were like step by step, starting with the leads on LinkedIn, and then there was an Excel, then there was a small CRM, and now it's like more and more established. So you can really see if in the end somebody bought or let's say bought a license for the specific software, and you can see the first touch point was a lead gen campaign on LinkedIn, then you can really see the connection. Once this happens, then you won, let's say, the C-level over, because they recognize that even though it's been half a year and it's been just a webinar, but it came from LinkedIn, this is also really helpful.
Nice. So you're actually creating, in some cases, entire sales processes and taking them through the funnel and monitoring them the whole way through the entire funnel using LinkedIn.
Let's say I don't do it myself. I tell them what is possible and what they should be doing. And some companies, depending on how far they are in their process, if it's a smaller company, it takes a bit of time. But I advise them then, because for example, in the lead generation campaign on LinkedIn, it's like it's an ad, people click on it, and if they say they want to attend the webinar, a form from LinkedIn appears, and you decide as the advertiser what fields need to be filled. So the name, the email address, and whatsoever. And for example, one option would be the LinkedIn URL. So for example, if we include this, and then I tell them, okay, we can include this, but you should only do that if you actually follow up. And those are little things people can do, and I advise them on that, what is possible and what makes sense in their stage of the journey. But I don't establish the CRM system, so to say. I help them with how to do it, because you can do a direct CRM connection with your lead gen forms, for example, and by including this code, and then it's automatically in your CRM or whatsoever. I don't do it myself. I just advise at this.
Okay. Well, that's good. No, yeah, yeah, I'm sure you have useful insight. That's great. Okay. So here's a question for you, because you talked about having, really good clients that are like take orders and do what you need, and then other ones not so much. Describe to me the perfect client, like for you. Like he's coming in and he's saying, I'm going to pay you to do this. How is that person going to assist you, and how is that person's assistance in helping you going to help all of us grow together, all of you guys grow together?
So this client would be open to what comes next, I would say. They are open to talk about topics. They already know what they want to share and what they don't want to share. Because of course you don't, every client is different and every personality is different. Some people would like to share some personal stuff and other people don't want to share it at all. And that's absolutely fine. And this works well. It just people need to be aware of that. And most of the times when I have my onboarding calls, we talk about things like this. So just open communication about what they want and what they don't want is the first step. And then, yeah, being open to discuss it as well. So I give my advices on what works and they just say if they want to do it or they don't. Because, for example, personal things, it's a social network, and it works always better if you share also some personal information. It doesn't have to be private, it just has to be personal. And so advise them on them. But if they say, no, that's not for me, then it's all totally fine. So being open for recommendations and being open to discuss recommendation or what works on LinkedIn and what not. This is, I would say, the first step. I like communication, let's say eye to eye, where we are just honest and open about what we want and what we don't want. And yeah, I think communication is the most important thing. And then when it comes to the process, it depends on the client. Sometimes I do a little bit more, meaning that I come up with ideas on what to post. Or I give, for example, questions to my clients and they can just, yeah, answer them like briefly, especially when it's a bit more personal. Things I just can't know. So if they then are yeah, able to provide me with answers to that. This is super helpful because then I can create the story and actually write it. So this would be an idea, or some clients also have already 100 ideas in their head and they just tell me what they would like to communicate. It can be, of course, when they are talking about, when we talk about thought leadership posts, so where it's very technical, they are the experts. And especially when it's very, let's say it's a software engineer and he talks about some solutions they offer, I can't know it all. So the more information they give me, the better the content will be. So yeah, providing ideas, providing the some sort of bullet points, so to say, is already helpful. And then one very critical part is, for example, if it's a personal account and we want to share pictures of those people, they need to send me those pictures. So it's like very let's say admin stuff, but if they don't send me a picture or if they don't create pictures, I have clients who just book a photographer once every few months and then they have a bunch of pictures, they upload it and I can just use them. This is perfect. So working on both sides, providing the context specific, but also the images or let's say a branding book or whatsoever. So I know on what to focus on slide shares and the right colors and whatsoever. So I have a good onboarding, so to say, about them as well. This would be ideal. And then the next critical part is once I create the content, that they actually give me feedback. So is this how they want it? What can we improve? Some after a certain period of time with clients, when we are in the flow and I really know how they like their content, they don't even need to or they don't want to give me feedback anymore. They just trust me and I just post it for them and they are fine with it. But this depends. So, but at least some feedback on the post so we can move forward or they can then use the content and post them themselves. But without feedback, we cannot improve it. So ongoing communication is important. And what is also important is what did I want to say? The content. Yeah, and that we talk about the analytics afterwards, so that we talk about, okay, what worked well, what didn't work well, and then we can see where to improve, or when we see this topic worked very well, that we use this for further content in the future as well. So I would say ongoing communication about from all sides. This makes the process very smooth. And what is also very critical, and it depends, of course, of the goals. But if a person really wants to create reach, it's not enough to only post. You have to engage, and I do it for some clients, but I prefer the clients doing it, that they actually write comments and engage with other creators, because this is a very, very, very crucial part when it comes to reach. If you don't engage with others, others won't engage with you. It's just give and take. This is just normal human behavior, I would say. So if clients don't do that, but then um they wonder why they don't get comments on their posts, it's like a bit frustrating. So seeing the full picture, and yeah, do also things additional to just the content creation itself. Either I help them with that, or they do it themselves. But I always advise on what to look for, how they can spot, for example, other creators in their niche, what they should focus on, how they could make this process very easy. And then it's up to them whether they do it. But the ideal client would write comments and be very engaging with other people, and also reply to comments on their posts, because this is also very crucial. So yeah, I think this is what it takes.
Yeah, no, it's good. And like 4 times I heard like proactive. And it made me think of something that had been coming up a few times in the last month for me. My buddy, he says, if you want to get something done, ask someone busy. And I think that
Mm.
kind of applies, and I like that, and it kind of fits here, so that's really good.
Mm.
And then I was going to ask you, so just like to further on that question, when someone, when a CEO or someone that hires you is giving you content, do you want that content in form of like bullet points that you can make your own content out of it? Or do you prefer they do the post as they would do it and then you just further on it or improve it? Or is there a different method? Like how do they deliver the content to you to give you the best chance?
The best thing would be to not create a full post, but because I had it in the past that I had posts and I had to rewrite the whole thing, and this then actually takes longer than me writing it right away. So I would say it depends on the client. Some clients really like to, for example, just create a little Loom video, them talking into the camera and then just sharing their ideas they have. And then I just write it down and extract the most important information, also this personal note. That's why I like voice notes or a Loom video very much, because it's often the things they say in between that can make a story even nicer to tell. So this could be a way, or people who are not so much into voice notes, or where, let's say, the collaboration is a bit more distant, so to say. It's then more via email, and then they provide bullet points or some sentences which yeah, reflects their opinion, for example, on a certain topic, because often, or the best case scenario is that we tell stories including their opinion. And if it's a new topic, of course, I don't know their opinion. So however they share their opinion is good. So it can be in a sentence, it can be in a bullet point. I really like voice notes or a little Loom video, because if they are not too long, because otherwise it takes, of course, more time. But this is something I really like to work on with.
Hmm. That's very interesting. I like that. I like that because so basically what you're saying is that the person might not know the gold in their story. They might not be able to identify the actual diamond part of their story, the most valuable part. And if it's between sentences, but you being another set of eyes can pick up on that and do what you do and help them grow. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's why it's very important to me as well to actually have regular meetings as well. I know people are busy, and if we create, let's say, 2 posts per week, we don't need to meet every week to discuss new topics, because once we have our content pillars and we know what we want to talk about, it's more or less clear. But having those regular meetings and talking about things that are going on, for example, if I write post for a CEO, or let's say, yeah, CEO of a startup, and he also shares, so his strategy, the strategy we established for him is on the one hand, the technical stuff about their product, but also the life of a CEO, so to say, to have this personal touch on, for example, how, what is he taking, or what is he focusing on when he's hiring new people, or how is he focusing on growing his business, on scaling it or whatever, because those are very like things very interesting for LinkedIn. When I talk to them on those regular meetings, and then I ask them, okay, what's been going on? And then they tell me about some things that were going on, and they were like, yeah, but I don't know if this is like interesting for LinkedIn. And then they talk about it, and I'm like, okay, but if we to like use this information to tell the story from this perspective, I can see value for the audience on LinkedIn, and then we can definitely use it. But yeah, looking through this LinkedIn content lens is not always easy for the CEOs or for employees, and then having this discussion about it really helps.
That's good. That's good. And are you, in your experience, is the more content the better, or is there a line that you draw?
So on LinkedIn, I would say on other social media platforms it's different. For example, on Instagram whatsoever, but on LinkedIn, I would focus on less content, but a bit more like more quality. Of course, in the beginning, when you start this journey, you need to find your voice, you need to find your way, you need to find the topics you really feel comfortable with. So it is a process. So in the beginning, it will take a bit longer to see what is really working for you and for your audience. But I would rather focus on 2 good posts per week and really providing value, because the algorithm is good these days and there are more and more creators on LinkedIn. And you won't get the reach if you just post some generic information you can find everywhere on Google. It just doesn't work anymore. At some point, it did work that you had to put maybe a bit less effort because there were just less competition, so your content was seen easier. But these days, rather focus on 2 good posts per week instead of posting every day. And then, yeah, of course, in the long run, the more content you share, the more possibility you have maybe to be picked up by the algorithm. But in the beginning, I would focus on high value and less posts.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have the resource and whatsoever and your content is good, is there are company profiles, like very big ones. We are talking SAP or IBM or whatever. They post, I don't know, 10 times per day on their company profile. But if your company page is a bit smaller and it's already hard to, because I had this case, we tried it and we had a company page where we posted even 3 times per day because it was 3 different languages. But we really saw the more we posted there, the less people saw it. And if your audience is not as big, the proportion to your post being seen is getting smaller and smaller. So, for example, if you post something today and you post on your personal profile and you post something tomorrow again, your content is also a little bit in a competition with one another. Because I don't know, I have noticed it by myself as well. Like when I post something, sometimes I get even likes and engagement a week later or 2 weeks later because it just pops up in people's feed again. So if you do it too much, you're working against yourself, so to say, on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because your posts really do compete with each other, right? You may have a following of 1,000 people, and if you only post once a month, they might be like, "Whoa, what's he posting? He doesn't post much." But if you're posting all the time, it'd be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good point. Um, and and then last little follow-up question on that. So if you're doing 2 posts a week, or if you're doing 10, what's your involvement with your content creator? Like 2 posts a week, maybe you're doing bi-weekly meetings or something, where if you're doing 10 a week, you might be talking to them an hour a week. How does that look?
Yeah. Normally I would say if we meet once per month and we have enough time and we had a good onboarding and I have all the information I need, then once per month is enough. I had clients where I would be meeting even every week for half an hour because I was working on their personal profile and the company page, and I also helped them with a little bit more strategic stuff. But generally speaking, bi-weekly or once per month is enough, in my opinion, especially when you have good written communication via email whatsoever. Um, that's enough, in my opinion, and it's been enough with my clients at least.
Okay. Well, it has been a pleasure. I've learned some things. I've definitely opened my mind.
Nice. Glad
Tell
to hear.
me, do you have any last words or feedback or something you would say, or if you're talking to someone that needs you, here's your chance. Like,
Yeah, thank you for this open conversation and for your interest and for having me for sure. It's been fun for me as well to talk about this topic. And whoever wants to connect on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, of course, and whoever needs help, we can always hop on a call and see whether it makes sense to collaborate together. If you don't see need, just connect on LinkedIn. I'm happy to chat on there as well.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And then I am just going to leave us with one of the favorite things that you said during this meeting, and I wrote it down. I'm going to keep it. And it's kind of like that field of dreams. If you build it, it will come. Or if you build it, they will come. But instead, you said, if you create great things, people will talk. And I love that because we all are creating great things. We all have something worthy of people talking about. So book a meeting with Alex so people are given that opportunity to talk about your amazing ideas.
No, I
Um,
love that.
thank you. Thank you. No, it was a
Thank you so
pleasure having
much.
you on. Yeah, you were great. Um, everybody at home, thank you for watching. Please go to telehealthtoday.net in November and book with Alex if you want to beef up your LinkedIn and get more clients and sales for your business. Um, and as always, have a great week. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you in a week. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much and good luck with the launch. I'm looking forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.